My sister tried to make my engagement party all about her, but instead of congratulations, she got the most brutal public humiliation I've ever witnessed. The moment my sister walked into my engagement party 45 minutes late, clutching her stomach while her husband stood behind her with dried blood on his hand, I knew something was wrong. She headed straight for the microphone during my toast. I tried to stop her, but she whispered that some moments are bigger than parties. Her husband hadn't moved from the doorway. He was just standing there with blood dripping from his hand and smiling at her like he was watching a movie he'd seen before. My sister tapped the microphone and announced she needed everyone's attention for something that couldn't wait. 70 people turned to look at her. Nobody noticed the blood but me. I grabbed the microphone from her and said we'd do family announcements after cake. She grabbed it back. She said she'd been keeping a secret for 3 months and couldn't hide it anymore. Her husband laughed from the doorway. Not a happy laugh, but something darker that made people near him step away. My sister put both hands on her stomach and started talking about her journey to motherhood. I looked at her husband again. The blood was dripping faster now, hitting the white floor in little drops that were spreading into puddles. He was watching her with this expression I'd never seen on anyone's face before, like he was enjoying something none of us could see yet. She kept talking about prenatal vitamins and baby names and how excited she was. The room was completely focused on her. She was doing that thing where she made herself cry on command, and it was working. Her husband walked to the bar and ordered whiskey with his bloody hand. The bartender was too busy watching my sister to notice the bloody handprint on the bar. My sister started describing how she'd been so sick every morning, but it was all worth it for this miracle. Her husband laughed again, louder this time. A few people turned to look, but my sister just talked louder about her pregnancy journey. She said she'd already decorated the nursery in yellow because she wanted the gender to be a surprise. When she finally announced she was 12 weeks pregnant, everyone erupted. People rushed to hug her. She sobbed about how scared she was and how much she needed everyone's support during this beautiful time. My grandmother was rubbing her back, telling her everything would be okay. My fiancé was pulling me away from the crowd. Her husband downed his whiskey in one shot and ordered another, then another. The bartender finally noticed the blood and offered him a towel. He waved it away and just kept drinking and smiling. My sister was explaining how the baby was definitely a honeymoon baby when her husband walked through the crowd and ripped the microphone from her hand. He said if we were making announcements, he had one too. The garden went silent. He said he knew she'd been sleeping with her personal trainer Jake in their bed for 6 months while he worked overtime to pay for her shopping addiction. He had screenshots of texts where she called Jake daddy and said her husband couldn't satisfy her anymore. He had security footage from their home camera showing them on the kitchen counter he built for their anniversary. The blood from his hand was getting all over the microphone, but he didn't care. He kept talking. He said he'd filed for divorce 3 days ago and changed all the locks. Her stuff was in trash bags on the lawn. He wanted a paternity test because she'd been seeing Jake every day during her fertile window. My sister screamed that he was lying and this was insane. She jumped for the microphone but missed and almost fell. He held it higher and kept going. He said Jake was married with 3 kids and his wife had gotten the screenshots 20 minutes ago right before they walked into this party. He pulled out his phone and showed everyone Jake's wife's response, which just said, "I'm keeping the house and the kids, you lying two-faced snake of a homewrecker." He said the private investigator he'd hired had photos of her leaving Jake's apartment at 2 in the morning last Tuesday when she claimed to be at her mother's house. He said the baby was definitely Jake's because she'd been doing more than planks during those training sessions. He looked her straight in the eyes and said she disgusted him, and he hoped the baby looked exactly like Jake so everyone would know what kind of lying whore she was. My sister let out this inhuman shriek and ran out of the venue. Her husband dropped the microphone on the gift table. The thud echoed through the speakers. Blood was all over the microphone and the white tablecloth. My grandmother picked up the microphone and said, "Well, at least we know the engaged couple can keep it in their pants." Everyone laughed nervously, and suddenly they all wanted to congratulate us again, but their eyes kept darting to the door. I found out later the blood was from earlier that day, when her husband discovered the texts and punched through their bedroom mirror. The baby turned out to be Jake's, and my sister raises it alone in our parents' basement.